So I'm going to be adding some facial features like mouth and eyebrows and stuff. I'll start with an eyebrow, and I'm going to be using strokes as much as I can so that I'm not having to draw a bunch of shapes. I'm going to use the tools that we have here. I'm going to click on this just so I can zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to use the line tool, but I need to be on a separate layer. That way I can arch the eyebrows, have them move to convey that emotion, getting angry or being surprised. So I'm going to make a new layer here and call it left eyebrow and draw a line on it. So make sure you're selecting that layer. That way nothing is selected when you go to draw. And that way you can say, well, I'll keep a fill on there just to show you why we don't want one when we're using strokes to do these kinds of features. So I've got my line tool, I've got the black selected, and I'm going to draw a line. So just make a simple eyebrow, and then you can thicken it up. You can go bigger than these numbers, of course, by entering them, but just get a nice thick eyebrow there and call it good. No, we want to do something a little more than that. So we're going to look at some of these different width profiles and find something that you like. So if you like this, then we can do a little more to that by adding one of our transform effects here. So this is distort and transform. We've done a little bit of pucker and bloat in tutorials before. This time I'm going to use the roughen. So roughen will change the thickness as it goes because that's the way the stroke is, but it also then changes the edges. And you've got a couple of sliders here. You can make the size of that roughness, actually going to bring that down a little bit. And you can also add more detail, that's more little jagged parts. So find something that you like. And you can use a smooth version instead of that jaggedy one, and that's not a bad way to go right there. So just 1% of the size just to make it a little bumpy and a little bit of detail there. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So there you got an eyebrow that looks kind of angry. You could make it look worried just by changing the angle on these. So let's do a worried eyebrow. Now if you want another one over there, of course we could make another eyebrow and take that, bring it over here. That's the copy, so that becomes the right eyebrow. And again, using the, can't really rotate it this time. So knowing that object transform reflect is going to make sure that it keeps the same angle and everything else that the other one has. So you can do a really worried looking face there. Now you do want to stay away from this edge of the face, because if you go into that gradient, you really lose that beveled 3D effect. So you always want to make sure that you've got a little bit of space there. You could bring the eyes in closer, depending on what you want to do. That is one method of doing the eyebrow. Let me show you another one. So if I want to change this from the roughen to something else, I don't have to redo all the work, Control-Z, undo. I can use my appearance panel here, and you can see that this path, it's selected. Let me make sure the left eyebrow is selected, and we should be able to see the roughen. So that's the effect that went into it. And you can click on it and change it up if you want to, or you can hide that effect for right now and try something else and have multiple ones that you could just swap out depending on what you want to do. So let's take a look at the zigzag. It's a little more regular. So if we do the effect, distort and transform, and this time we'll do zigzag, you still get your sliders. You can change the size of the zigzag as well as the number of zigs and zags that it's got. You can even smooth that out as well. So it could be really good for curly hair. There's lots of possibilities here. But that right there would be a little bit much. So let's reduce that size and increase the number of segments. And as you can see, you have a very different look to the eyebrow, even though they're the same size, width, everything else. One of the other tutorials to see how that works.